Tony, let's start actually. Good evening, by the way.
Evening.
By just having a quick chat about Friday Sport and Friday Football Focus and letting people know what's coming up, because it's something a bit different this evening.
Yeah, it is. It's something we've been trying to track down for a while. A lot of people know that there's a young lad on the Isle of Man who has been snapped up by one of the professional clubs, and Dean Pinnington, I think everybody knows what a type of player he is, and it's been kept quiet because obviously Dean, 14 years of age, to leave the island and go across is a big move for him, so we didn't want to spoil things, but we've been able to track down basically his minder away at Wolves, and we're going to speak to John Finnegan and just find out what's been going on. It's been a great week for Dean this week, but we won't spoil it what he's been up to. But he's back on the island tonight. He's just flown back in. He didn't want to come up because obviously he's only a young lad. He's very shy. But we'll find out exactly how this young man's getting on, because he's been one of the top players on the island since about 8, and it's nice to know what his progress has been like in the UK.
Looking forward to that, Tony. Thank you very much for the preview there. If we have a look at the football that's going ahead tomorrow, I wrote my preview for the news tomorrow. I described it as a mixed bag because I've never seen such a varied schedule for the football. We've got Friends Provident FA Cup first round, quarter-final tie, first round ties for the GH Cull at Woods Cup, a quarter-final tie for that, Canada Life Premier League, JCK Division 2, Combi 1 and Combi 2. And
we've had to mix things around a little bit with fixtures and weather. But I've got to say that, one or two reports I've had in from pitches over the last couple of days is that they've dried up considerably. There's still some struggling. So I know tomorrow, certainly Corinthians, we weren't going to take the chance from the start of the week. And we're playing against Laxey at the Bowl at 5 o'clock. And originally that was supposed to be 1:45. But due to St Mary's having an away fixture, Old Blackberry Lane isn't fit. And it was a sort out between the two of them. They're going to play at the Bowl at 2:30, and Corinthians had to move to the later one. So it's all been mixed all over the place, but let's just hope that it stays good tonight. I know there's rain coming in, and we get away with a full programme tomorrow because, as you say, there's such a mixed bag there, and the reason is because of the weather.
And some fixtures need to get played as well. We've been talking about this for weeks now, but it continues to be an issue, doesn't it?
Big issue. We're getting very close to our maximum that we were when we had the flood 2 or 3 years ago, and we're up to about 180. Clubs are getting frustrated. People just want to play football, but you can't take a chance if the pitch isn't in good order and you play. You're going to chew it all up for the next 2 or 3 weeks. But the weather forecast tonight is a bit of rain, and tomorrow it's not too bad. Sunday, a little bit of rain coming late on, and then next week looks good. So hopefully we'll try and get things done and dusted tomorrow, and try and get the cups back on track, because with Easter being early this year, we need to get them out of the way to get the GH Cull at Woods Cup on, which is Good Friday, and the FA Cup, which is on Easter Saturday.
It's like you say, Easter is early. I think it's 5 weeks, the half term between for schools anyway, between now and then, not much time. So let's have a look at some of these fixtures. The Friends Providence FA Cup first round, as you said, Corinthians against Laxey, taking place at the Bowl, 5 p.m. kickoff. How do you see this one playing out?
They've met this year already, and it was a tight game. Corinthians league leaders, so they're looking to sort of keep going and keep the momentum going, as well with Laxey. I've seen them twice this year, and they're a good side. So I think Paul Callow's team will be quite confident going into this one. But I think Corinthians just want a game of football, and this is going to be the problem, is because so many teams have missed out for so long, they're going to be a little bit ring rusty. But it's at the Bowl. Whether it sort of helps either club, I'm not too sure, but at least we know the game's going to be on. And I've got to stick my neck out and just say that Corinthians will just sneak it.
There's always the worry that prolonged periods without football can actually lead to some people just losing interest as well, can't they? That's not unknown.
I think that's what's happened at the moment, because I know training numbers have been down for quite a few clubs, and some clubs have really had to work hard this week to get second teams out, because, if one or two first teamers don't want to play, which is unusual, then they have to bring players in from the combination. So it does happen. And I know, like last weekend, we lost 18 of the 20 fixtures, which was an absolute disaster. And with both cups running at the moment, the Woods Cup and the FA Cup, it's having a knock-on effect with the league programme as well. But, hopefully we'll get the cup games out of the way tomorrow. I'm not too worried about the two quarterfinals in the FA Cup and the Woods Cup. But I'd like to get the first round games out of the way for the GH Call and also the FA Cup so we can get back on track.
Yeah, get things equalised again. Well, that other first round match that's taking place in the FA Cup tomorrow is Ramsey against Braddon.
Well, you've got to just arc this one to Braddon at the moment. I think Braddon showed recently in their game, I think it was against Foxdale, that they're a good side, and with Andy Glover coming back in, then there's going to be goals in there. Joe Andrews is influential at the back, and hopefully Connor Dempsey now might just sort of reap the benefits of someone else there who can score goals. But I think Ramsey, even though they've got some really good young players, they're struggling, and I think even though it's a cup game, Ramsey are really battling every single league game they're playing to stay in the division, and it's tough for them, and I think tomorrow afternoon will be tough too.
The quarter-final tie that takes place tomorrow, and that is a 1:45 kick-off, along with that Ramsey-Braddon one, is St John's against Castletown. Yeah,
good game, and when the draw was made, I know Richard Foden was chuffed to bits because, Castletown are going really well at the top of Division 2. It's a right good battle going on there, and they just wanted to see, like Pulrose, where they are with everything, because if they do get promoted, then this is an idea to see how strong the teams are, and St John's are one of the strong teams, top 6 anyway, in the Canada Life Premier League. I know tomorrow there are 1 or 2 players missing, but also I think Alex Holden's back, and Alex Holden will be playing in that game, which adds a different dimension as well. But I think Castletown will find it really tough. I think St John's will put a really good show on, and with people like Rhys Oates, Alex Holden up front, probably playing together against a Castletown defence that Richard Foden will lead it, but it's how the others sort of mark up, because they've got good width, whether it's Louis Morris going down the left or Harry Rothwell down that right-hand side. So it's going to be a tough day, I think, and you'll see the difference. I'll stick my neck out in the 2 leagues.
There is goals in that side, though, particularly from Alex Crawley.
Oh, definitely. But, this is where Premier League sides are a little bit clever. And with Alex Crawley that if you keep him close, he can get a little bit frustrated and his head can drop. But certainly if he gets the opportunity to ping one, he's the boy. He's a really good goal scorer. And there's other good players in there who can score goals. And I think Castletown will put up a good fight, but I just feel St John's will be too strong for them.
Okay, the GH Call at Woods Cup first round, 3 ties in this. Again, 1:45 kick-offs to allow for extra time penalties if required. The 3 matches, Maloo against Pulrose United, Morown against Onken, and Union Mills against Ramsey Youth Centre. Yeah,
I think that Maloo against Pulrose will be a right battle. And Maloo fancy their chances, but I think certainly Paul Guyver's team, I spoke to Steve Glover midweek, he's enjoying his football again, and he's been a big plus for Pulrose. Stewie Morris is good in goal, so they'll try and keep things nice and tight there. Morown against Onken, I think that's the big game in that competition this weekend. And I know inquired about Morown's pitches, couple of little pools of water on it. Hopefully that'll disappear or this afternoon, because it was lunchtime when I was talking about it, and hopefully that game will get played, because again, both clubs haven't had much football to get sorted. And the other one, I think it's Ramsey Youth Centre against Union Mills. I think Ramsey Youth Centre are back on track. I think they'll get it right, and they'll go through to the next round and see how they do for that to get through to the semi-finals.
Moving to the quarter-final. It's Douglas and District against Ayr United.
Yeah, when this draw was made last week, I saw this one come out, and I thought that's really nice, because it gives the opportunity of 2 sides of the same ability to get themselves through to a semi-final. And the 2 good clubs, I think Ayr have worked really well. I watched them a couple of weeks ago against St Mary's. A lot of new faces there I didn't recognise, but they did well. And D&D, Rick Delaney's side there, will be just hopeful that they have one of those good games, because I don't know what the problem is against the good sides. Now and then they get a real good performance from the team and they beat them. But then they'll go and play one of the lower sides and get beat the following week. So it is a bit Jekyll and Hyde for them. I think this one could go to extra time, and I wouldn't be surprised as well that it might even go all the way to penalties. I think it's going to be that tight.
Okay, well, that remains to be seen. Moving into the divisions and Canada Life Premier League, couple of matches here. Douglas Athletic against Douglas Royal.
Yeah, I think Douglas Athletic will look at the performance that they had a couple of weeks ago in the Cup, where they beat Douglas Royal comfortably. And that's as good a performance I've seen from Douglas Athletic for a long, long time. And I know Chris Feeney, the Douglas Royal manager, was really cheesed off with the way the team played. And you get that. Sometimes you get a weekend where everybody sort of struggles a little bit. And let's just hope that it doesn't happen. It's going to be a closer game. It's a tight pitch. They know that. But I think Athletic showed that they're a little bit above the teams below them. And that's why I go for Athletic to win.
Okay, if we take a look at the other one, we've mentioned this briefly to talk about where it's taking place, and it's been moved to the Bowl. But Old Boys against St Mary's looks like it could be a tasty affair as well.
Yeah, this one should have been at Blackberry Lane, but Blackberry Lane's not fit, and there was just no way it was going to happen. So they asked if they could play it at St Mary's, but I'd sneaked in already and booked the pitch because I asked St Mary's, if you haven't got a home game, can Corinthians have the pitch? And he said, yeah, fine. Anyway, the way it worked out, St Mary's want the pitch back. That's no problem. It was really nice of them to allow the pitch to be used. And the game has been switched to 2:30. It is kick-off at the Bowl. And St Mary's are playing some really good stuff at the moment. And I watched them last week, and it was really nice to watch. Stevie Priestnall again on fire with a couple of goals. And Tommy Johnson on that left-hand side is scoring some real important goals. But I think Old Boys need a win. And I looked at the training last night. There's a few missing. So I think that's one of the teams that you're talking about. They've only played 10 league games, Ed. When you think 17th of March, I think it is, we should be finished. They've played 24. So it shows you that at the moment they're way behind with everyone. I think it's costing them. But I just think St Mary's at the moment, the way they're playing, they'll win it.
And as you say, Steve Priestnall, he's always been a goal machine, but even by his standards at the moment, he's absolutely on fire. Hat tricks, 4 goals here, braces there. It's just everything's going in for him. I'm
looking at Steve at the moment for possibly the Player of the Year this year, because I think at the start of the season he was a little bit quiet, a little bit slow, and looked unfit. Not now. And some of the goals that he's scoring are only Steve Priestnall's goals, that he can score. There are special people on the island who could do that. Callum Morrissey was another one. But Steve at the moment is playing with so much confidence that I just see him as a real strong contender for Island Player of the Year.
Okay, JCK Division 2, Gyms against Foxdale and Michael United against Governors Athletic.
We'll look at the Gyms v Foxdale. This pitch could be a little bit problematic, but Foxdale, at least they've got a game of football. I know Foxdale are trying everything they can to find other pitches just to keep things going, because they're a team as well that have got a good chance to go up to the Premier League. So I'm going to go for Foxdale to win that one. As well with Michael against Governors. Michael's pitch is usually pretty good. Governors, still conceding too many goals. Carl Hunter knows that, who's one of the sort of kings up there, and Tom Chamberlain's trying to get things right, but I think Michael will be too strong. I'll go for Michael to win.
Okay, Tony, thank you. That's where we'll leave the football for now in terms of that. But just before you go, before returning after 6, a quick mention that you're going to be away with the Island side this weekend, so we're going to be hearing from you across the water, basically, aren't we, at lunchtime and tea time tomorrow?
Yeah, we are, but the problem is the game kicks off 12 o'clock on Sunday because they couldn't get a venue. They've got the same problems as we have in the Isle of Man. So the Island team, they're all looking fit. A little bit of a worry about Sean Quay. Took a bit of a knock on Wednesday, but he's been past fit. So the squad's as strong as it could be, and they've trained twice this week, and I've been down to both sessions and they look electric, so hopefully it'll all come together for them on Sunday. But the team travel away tomorrow. I think it's 10 o'clock in the morning, then up to Huddersfield Town's training ground, and they're going to train indoors on that facility. I believe it's unbelievable, so that'll be nice. And then leisurely night, and then a 12 o'clock kick-off on Sunday, and we'll try and bring you all the news. Full press going, Andy Dalrymple's going, Paul Hatton's going, Gary Waitman's going. I'll be there to cover it as well, so hopefully we'll have good news to bring back to you, and the boys will get through to the semi-finals.
Sounds good, and we'll take a bit more of an in-depth look at it tomorrow lunchtime as well. Just one more thing to mention in the football is that Onken against Union Mills in Combi 2 is going to be played at Groves Road tomorrow.